Today's cars are packed with all sorts of safety tech, and headlights are a big deal among them. They're not just about lighting up the road. They're a huge part of a car's look and personality. The design of headlights can make or break a car's style, giving it that unique character. But here's the thing, those sleek modern headlights we see today, they've come a long way, baby. Let's take a trip down memory lane and see how car headlights evolved from simple flames to high-tech laser beams. The story of headlight evolution is pretty much the story of the car industry itself. Back in the day, headlights weren't exactly a top priority for drivers. I mean, roads were a mess. Cars broke down all the time, and most folks wouldn't even think about driving at night. But as time went on, people realized they needed better ways to light up the road if they wanted to travel after dark. This kick-started a journey from basic flame lamps to the sci-fi-like laser tech we have today. Picture this. It's the late 1880s and the first headlights are basically controlled fires in a box. No joke. These early lamps ran on acetylene gas or oil and looked a lot like the gas lamps people had in their homes. They were called carbide lamps, and they worked like a mini chemistry experiment on wheels. Here's how it went down. You had solid carbide in the bottom part and water in the top. The water would drip onto the carbide, creating acetylene gas. This gas would then travel through a pipe to the end of the lamp where it was lit up. Sounds cool, right? Well, not so fast. These lamps were a real pain to maintain and pretty dang dangerous. You had to keep changing the carbide tablets and water, clean out this nasty lime buildup, and oh yeah, you were basically driving around with a flammable gas tank strapped to your car. Talk about living on the edge. Fast forward to 1898 and we get our first electric headlight. Cue the applause. But hold up, it wasn't all smooth sailing from there. The early electric headlights had their fair share of problems. The filaments weren't tough enough for bumpy rides, and the dynamos were huge and not very efficient. But then in 1912, Cadillac swooped in and changed the game. They introduced the Delco electrical ignition and lighting system. This wasn't just about better headlights that could handle rain or snow. Nope. It also brought in electric ignition and an electric starter instead of that hand crank. This was huge, folks. It made night driving way safer and more comfortable. Suddenly, cars weren't just daytime toys anymore. In 1939, sealed beam headlights hit the scene, and by 1940, they were the law of the land in the US. These headlights were like an all-in-one package deal. You had your reflector, lens, and filament all sealed up together. This setup gave a brighter, more focused light. The big win with sealed beams was that they kept water out, whether from rain, wet roads, or just washing your car. But there was a catch. If one part of it went bust, you had to replace the whole shebang. Plus, even though they sucked up a lot of power, they didn't exactly light up the night like Times Square. The 1960s brought us halogen headlights, and Europe jumped on that bandwagon fast. In '62, a dream team of French, German, and Italian manufacturers rolled out the first halogen lamps for cars. These babies were brighter and tougher, thanks to some fancy chemistry between halogen gas and tungsten. Here's the lowdown on how they work. You've got a thin tungsten filament chilling in a heat-resistant glass capsule filled with inert halogen gas. When you flip on your lights, electricity heats up the filament, making the tungsten glow. The halogen gas plays cleanup crew, helping any evaporated tungsten atoms get back to the filament. This whole dance keeps the bulb living longer and burning brighter. Most halogen headlights give off a slightly yellowish light, around 3000 Kelvin on the color temperature scale. Next up, xenon or high-intensity discharge headlights. These were a big step up from halogens. Instead of a tungsten filament, you've got a quartz tube filled with xenon gas and electrodes at each end. When you power it up, it creates a spark that ionizes the gas and sets up an electric arc between the electrodes. Xenon headlights are like the Energizer Bunny of the car world. They keep going and going, lasting about 5 times longer than halogens. They're also more energy efficient and give off a true white light. somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 Kelvin. The downside? They take a few seconds to reach full brightness, so they're not great for high beams that need to be instant on. LED technology was a real game changer for headlights. These work through a process called electroluminescence. Fancy word, I know. Basically, electrons are fired towards positively charged holes in a semiconductor, releasing energy as light. LEDs are the overachievers of the lighting world. They use minimal energy, last forever, well, almost, and can light up the road for about 300 meters. Plus, they're super versatile in terms of design. That's why you see them all over high-end cars, not just in headlights, but also in turn signals, brake lights, and interior lighting. Adaptive headlights are like the smart kids in class. They move in sync with your steering wheel, improving visibility around curves and corners. They use electronic sensors to figure out your car's speed, how far you've turned the wheel, and even the yaw of the car. That's a fancy way of saying how much it's rotating. These clever lights can usually turn up to 15 degrees from the center, giving you a 30-degree range of movement. This is super helpful on winding roads or in urban areas where you need to see around corners. Matrix headlights take adaptive lighting to the next level. Imagine a bunch of LED modules that can be controlled independently. That's matrix lighting for you. These smart lights use a camera and sensors to spot oncoming cars and automatically adjust the beam pattern. The cool thing about matrix lights is that they can selectively dim or turn off specific parts of the light beam. This means you can have your high beams on without blinding other drivers. It's like having a personal lighting designer for your car, adapting to different driving situations on the fly. Last, but definitely not least, we've got laser headlights. These are the new kids on the block, and they're pretty mind-blowing. A laser headlight uses one or more laser diodes that emit a blue laser light. This light is then directed by a mirror towards a chamber filled with yellow phosphorus gas. When the laser hits the phosphorus, boom, you get an intense white light. Laser headlights are like LED headlights on steroids. They're twice as energy efficient and can be 4 times brighter. They also produce a color temperature of around 6,500 Kelvin, which is pretty close to natural daylight. The catch? Right now, they're only available on some fancy prototype cars or high-end limited editions. But hey, that's how all great tech starts, right? The evolution of car headlights is a pretty amazing journey, from simple flames to laser beams. Each new technology aimed to make driving safer and more comfortable. And who knows what's next? Maybe someday our headlights will do more than just light up the road. They might communicate with other cars or display information for the driver. One thing's for sure, the future of car lighting looks bright.